All right, Arizona Cardinal fans, it's time for another episode of the Red Rain podcast. This is our 217th episode coming at you. Let me welcome in once again your host, the one and only Walter Mitchell.
Thank you to the pride of Sacktown, Kyle Little Rock, Ledbetter, who's bringing good vibes to Sacramento in every which way. He's donning his King's hat. Will Brendan Sorsby be a Cardinals draft king, the supplemental draft king? And we, with our resident expert, Swaro Sam, since 61, we're going to discuss the prospects the Cardinals may prospect Brendan Sorsby would be for the Cardinals because they've done a lot of work on him already. They're in good shape in terms of the homework they did in the offseason. In fact, Cardinals visited two schools. The two schools Cardinals visited the most were Cincinnati 4 times and Oregon 4 times. And guess who the quarterbacks were at both stops? Brendan Sorsby, who they thought could declare for the 26th draft, but did not. And Dante Moore, who they also thought might declare, he did not, which was fascinating too, because I think he clearly would have been number 2. And I think Sorsby would have run up there too. And I honestly believe, given if Sorsby had come out, I honestly believe the Cardinals might have taken him at number 3. I think they were very high on. I think they still are, but they're the big sort of caveats now, and we're going to discuss that. But first, we want to get to the tape. I want to show what the hoopla is about this kid because he's 6'3", 235, got the great arm, and man, can he scoop? Even though he's like a 4.6 speed guy, it doesn't show up on tape. He can bust it at any point on the field. So here we are in the Nebraska game. They're trying to come from behind. It's third quarter. Boom. That had a twinge of Josh Allen in it. I mean, he is a rugged runner. I think he had 18 touchdowns on the ground the last 2 years or 3 years. He started in Indiana and then transferred to Cincinnati on a $875,000 NIL deal that was a 2-year deal. We'll talk about the ramifications of that when we go through the tape. Okay, so now still behind. This may have been a called quarterback draw. Good slide at the end, good finish. This was their first game of the year, by the way, I believe. Or first Big 12 game of the year. All right, there we go again. Now, they lost that game, a close game to Nebraska. Here we're going to see aspects of his arm. Nice dime down the sideline. Yeah, that's Cyrus Allen, who I thought the Cardinals might pounce on since they were at Cincinnati so much. But they did not, which was curious to me. They went with Reggie Virgil instead from Texas Tech. Oh, the irony, Texas Tech. So we see the good downfield shot there. This kid's greatest value is in the red zone. He is made to order. This is what I love about him. How he can throw pinpoint passes to his left on the move, and he can do the same to his right, his natural side. That's a nifty little bubble screen there. Getting the big lead on Bowling Green.
That's a design run. Scored
Yeah,
it.
that's another quarterback draw. That really puts pressure on the defense. You got to keep your linebackers in tight. Can open things up over the middle. Beautiful. Beautiful. He's got the play action game, which in a LaFleur system, McVay is a key component. That certainly would be an attractive aspect of his game that the Cardinals could find very interesting, appealing.
Yep,
Nice play design, perfectly executed. Little play action misdirection. This is a nifty run. The only thing about his running is, yeah. The only thing about his running is he put it on the turf 12 times. But curiously, he lost only 6 because he recovered 6 himself. That tells you about his recovery ability. Guy, he will hop on if the ball's on the turf, he will get after it. But that's a kind of 12 times is a lot. In like 288 rushes. So it's not the worst we've seen, but it's also, ball security is important. Yeah, that's a really nifty pass right there. Bingo. I think that's Cyrus Allen again. The kids Caldwell and Allen got drafted as receivers. They had good seasons. He fed both of them well. He's got the big arm. He can throw to the sidelines really well. There it is again. It's really tough to defend.
Dang, that was like an effortless big throw too.
Yeah, well, it's just flick of the wrist.
The kid's got an arm on him.
Yep.
Kid definitely has an arm on him.
Yes. There's a drop in the bucket. He's good at doing that, dropping passes. That's Caldwell again. Dropping passes into the bucket.
Good back shoulder.
Yeah. Nothing wrong there.
He was 27 touchdowns, I think, to 5 interceptions
Correct.
last year.
Yep.
I think that's the number.
Wow.
Nifty feet.
Yep.
And, gutsy. I mean, runs with confidence. Nice little dime over the middle. Touchdown to start a game there against OK State. Good way to start. Cyrus Allen. There's the tight end who, he had another really good connection with Hoyer, the tight end. He had a triple threat going, Royer. All 3 were drafted. So he knows how to feed his guys. Really good with backs coming out of the backfield. We've seen that on numerous occasions. Oh, they used Allen as a back there. This is just, look at the footwork there. Wow. Goodness. This is a part of the season where he was really crushing it after that Nebraska loss. They ran off a string of wins. Probably the most impressive of which was the Kansas game, which we'll get to in a minute, where Jalon Daniels of Kansas was having a day. And Sorsby had to answer at the end, and we'll tell you what happened. Was that it? Oh, there's more.
No, we just had an ad break here. It's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Sidearms stuff. He's got all the sort of Mahomes type throws. That's a nifty little sidearm dart.
Looking like Stafford on that one.
This kid is made to order for RPOs. Absolutely made to order. Puts a lot of pressure on defenses with both his arm and his legs. This is a drop in the bucket. Now, this was in the Utah game, which was his worst game. So for him to be struggling and then try to rally the team back in the third quarter with that dime is a testament to his perseverance. That game we'll talk about too, as we're going to do his worst game and his best game. They really block these plays up front very well. Cincinnati's a well-coached team.
Very well coached.
They're disciplined, great little play, RPO slant to Caldwell. You can imagine him throwing that to Marv. I mean, with Sorsby, it's not a question of talent, football talent. I mean, he's got the package. And there's Allen again. I mean, this kid, I really was hoping the Cardinals would draft. There's Caldwell again on the slant. I mean, this is great stuff. And nice read. Attacking every zone on the football field with this kid. Sidelines, middle, deep sidelines, deep posts, skinny posts, out passes, flea flickers.
That's a perfect Michael Wilson play right there.
Yeah, that's a perfectly said. Look at him go.
That's like 7 purple defenders.
Channeling Mike, I would go south.
And TCU's got a pretty good defense.
They really do. And you know what? Cincinnati lost their last 4 games. But Sorsby played well, and he had the rough game against Utah. But he's not the first quarterback to get handled in Utah. I mean, that's a tough place to play. I'm not making excuses. It's just, he had an off day. I watched the game and critiqued it a little bit. One of the tough plays was he lost a fumble on a running play that early in the first half that sort of gave Utah fans the momentum and the team. But he tried to bounce back. He really played hard. And he had that long touchdown pass to get them back in the game. So, there were some positives there. But it was the Kansas game that was very, very impressive to me. It was let's show folks the stats of both of those games, and I'll just explain the Kansas game because we want to get to the gist about the issues that Sorsby himself is facing and teams that want to draft him are grappling with. We got to get to that. But if we put up the stats of those games, and while we're doing that, I'll just explain at Kansas. Oh, great. All right. So it was Kansas scored their fourth quarter touchdown to go ahead 34 to 31. And so we're leaving Cincinnati like 2 minutes, under 2 minutes left to try to rally. And on on their own 40-yard line, faced with a 4th and 10, Sorsby hung in a pocket really well under a lot of pressure, and delivered a dime on a delayed out pass to the left, which the receiver made a really good one-handed catch on. I didn't think he had to do it with one hand. He could have gotten both, but he got the conversion. And then they got some huge runs down to near the goal line, and Sorsby was brilliant and all that. And they plunged it in and won 37-34 on the road to go 3-1. And so, but here's his line. I mean, that's good stuff right there, boy. That is on the road against Kansas. And, you know, Jalen Daniels had a really good day. Daniels got picked up by the Bucs as an undrafted free agent. So, you know, good win. And Kansas was rolling at the time. So, you know, they had a pretty dang good team with Daniels at quarterback too. So, and let's show the stats of his worst game at Utah. Because, you know, I watched the game. I saw some really good things from him. He suffered in that game from batted passes, which at times for him, you know, with his arm angles that he mixes up really well, that can be a factor with him. You know, and that's why he uses them. He tries to throw around people. But in that game, he guessed wrong a few times. And on third downs, he just was narrowly missing the mark on some of his passes. And, you know, he just was, but credit Utah. I mean, they played really well in that game. So this was an anomaly. This was by far his worst game I think in 2 years. And still managed go to 221 yards on 11. Go to I think Allen was go to their receivers. He had a big couple passes. Yeah, Cyrus Allen, 2 for 133, baby.
Yeah, I was going to say, we saw in the highlights he had that 188-yard touchdown.
Yeah, yep. So that was the good news. Caldwell was blanketed and bracketed. He did not have they needed him to have a big day, and he didn't get that. Royer only had 1 for 10. So the triple threat was good with Allen, and the other two had rough days too. So, you know, it just shows you that, you know, this is one of the reasons why I think he wanted to go back to play another year of college football. Is the NIL money was good, and he was the number 1 rated quarterback in the portal, which included Dante Moore and other, as you know, Mensa from Duke, and you know, Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, this was the guy the big boys all went after, because he was offered by Texas Tech, Indiana, LSU with Lane Kiffin, and by Miami, who wanted to you know, have him come in and take Beck's place. So I think he recognized that he wanted to finish strong in a season, and he'd have a chance with any of these programs, and Texas Tech make the most lucrative offer. But the thing is that, you know, the gambling addiction caught up to him, became much more public than it was previously. He was kind of kept, you know, hush there for quite some time, and then suddenly now that he's more in the national spotlight, the accounts of his something like 9,000 bets over the years, and betting for on his own team is at Indiana, not against them, but making bets on his own team. Is a major red flag. The problem is, Sam, with a gambling disorder like that, what do you make of it? And is it something that you think the rehab he's been doing can just correct it?
Well, we don't know.
Right.
Kid has a mental health issue. And anybody who dismisses this pattern that he's had since high school as an immaturity, entitlement, lack of discipline, etc., you're missing the boat. This is a real mental health issue, and this kid's got it big time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the timeline, I mean, this came out in April.
Yeah.
April 27th.
Yeah.
And it wasn't him asking for help. It wasn't him or those around him pleading for help. This was an investigation. This was discovered based on tips. And, the kid was in Arizona for rehab.
Yep.
He's in a 35-day program, gambling rehabilitation center here. And he spent 35 days working on this.
Yep.
We don't have any more information than that. He might have private counsel. He may be getting exhaustive therapy. He may be, I don't know, getting the help he needs and coming out of this. But this is not a problem he had several years ago, and he's battled, and he's been somewhat rehabilitated. We don't know.
Right.
So, and here's the issue. Every time he misses an open player, what is everybody going to think?
Yeah.
Every time he fumbles, every time he runs out of bounds, he's going to carry this with him for a while.
He is.
And he is a very talented kid. We just saw that.
Right.
In many ways. And deserves an opportunity. I felt he deserved an opportunity to play college football again. But, I'm definitely in the minority there. And, and there are other issues and it might be part of the gambling issue, but he wasn't a very good leader. He wasn't a very strong locker room guy. A lot of kids don't play in meaningless bowl games, and he's one of them. And when you lump this in with the rest, here's a flawed kid with a lot of talent, and you got to really wonder how those around him didn't know, didn't help, didn't advise. And I in a lot of ways feel sorry for this kid. But he's going to have to own this. And to answer your question, Walt, nobody knows how he's dealing with this. Nobody knows the arc of recovery. And we've got whoever drafts this kid in the supplemental, and that'll probably be next month. You got a kid who's been betting. You're picking a kid who bet on his team, made 9,000 bets. I mean, he bet on the Turkish men's, I don't know. It wasn't even soccer. It was some ridiculous, obscure bet. This kid has a serious mental health problem. And whoever takes him, they're going to have to deal with that. And it has to be a pretty stable, non-dysfunctional, patient organization that helps him work through this.
Correct. Campbell reported, made mention of that he also has anxiety issues. And so that doesn't surprise me because that's, I think, part and parcel of his gambling addiction. Is you said it perfectly. It's a mental health issue. That's what it is. And the stigma of that by now should be gone. I mean, this is millions and millions of Americans and people around the world suffer from anxiety and from mental health issues. They're in every family. It's unavoidable. It's just in the old days, people hid it and kind of swept it under the rug, and they didn't know how to treat it very well. And now today, it's become more and more common as a diagnosis and out in the open for people. That's the stigma of it is not what it used to be. That people understand the normality of this, unfortunately, and so we're all, I think, as a society, we're compassionate to those who are suffering, and we want to try to help them. And I think that from that standpoint, I think you said it really well. Is that the the organization that gets him in the NFL, that acquires him, is going to need a plan and needs to reassure their fan base what that plan is and how confident they are that they can get the best out of Brendan Sorsby. Kyle, given that the gambling issue, the anxiety, what do you think? Where do you think, if there is a supplemental draft, and Gamble was also posing the potential that the NFL may go. Now, there's too much here, issues, too many issues here. But let's just say for right now, and Gamble seemed to think we'll know for sure in the next 24 hours whether the NFL is going to hold a supplemental draft. What do you think the chances are that he will get picked, and where do you think he would get picked?
So there's differing opinions about where the quarterback would end up. If he were in this year's draft, some people thought he would be a first round pick, or at least the number 2 quarterback off the board. And obviously we know Ty Simpson ended up getting picked in the first round. So theoretically, if he was the number 2, number 3 quarterback, he probably would have gotten picked at the top.
Right.
I know you brought up a scouting report for Sorsby from the NFL Draft Buzz website.
Yes. Yep.
And on theirs, they had him as the number 6 quarterback next year. And obviously it was early in the process. I mean, at this time last year, we thought, Garrett Nussmeier was going to be a first round pick, and he ended up falling to the 7th after a tough season. So, a year of development would have changed a lot of those prospect boards. So with all that being said, seems like he probably, before all of this, would have been somewhere between a first round quarterback and a third round quarterback. And that's before you factor in whatever he would have done at Texas Tech this year, or whatever growth you would have seen. So I would imagine he probably gets picked with a third or fourth round supplemental pick, which is essentially saying some team is willing to take a chance on him. Essentially, low risk. Yeah. They can stash him as even a QB3, an emergency third quarterback for a season, and maybe come back next year as a quarterback 2. I think the fourth round pick, they make like $4 million over 4 years or $5 million over 4 years on their contracts. So it's a low risk draft pick situation. I'd imagine that's probably where he's going to fall, especially if there's uncertainty about whether he's going to be eligible to play in the NFL right away too. So I would guess somebody's going to spend a third or a fourth round pick on it. I don't think anyone's at this point spending a second or a first, but this is also a good inflection point about the New World Order of the perception of gambling as it relates to the NFL. And I thought we were going to have a really interesting conversation about that come April, after he was allowed to play some form of college football.
Right.
The Big 12 might have stepped in and said he wouldn't have been able to play in the Big 12 championship game or stuff like that. But it would have been a really interesting conversation had we gotten he participates in the combine, he does all the draft process stuff next year. But now that it's all kind of being fast tracked, I think more NFL teams are going to proceed with caution, because you don't have to risk it at this point. You don't have to risk a first round pick or a second round pick on a guy like him. And, I think the best situations are the ones where they can just kind of make him disappear for a little bit. And he's, an emergency third quarterback, even if they're starting quarterback, or even if they're not a playoff team, if they have two quarterbacks already on the roster, then they can just go ahead and bring him in. There's no chance he's going to play this year unless something really bad happens, and they can just wait and see what happens with the mental health disorder and the gambling addiction and everything else, and just, see how he responds to treatment, whether he is able to stay away from the gambling, or whether this is a chronic condition and we need some sort of deeper psychological help. You can kind of wait and assess, because there's not that pressure on him to play immediately.
Well, I think you touched on some pretty key points, because ideally, I think he goes to a team that has an established but older quarterback who's maybe on the cusp of retiring, or or at the end of a contract that might not be renewed, and where there's no pressure to play Sorsby this year unless the quarterback gets hurt. Like this is a kind of a wild card notion, but I think it's legit actually, that one of the great questions I got on X this week was from Lou Art, LOU capital ART, who asked if whether the interest in Sorsby was driven by Drew Petzing for his offense, while they were still expecting to be in Arizona, and that in the interim now with LaFleur, would he find Sorsby as appealing to what he wants? Maybe nuances and differences there. And I said to him, that is just such a great question. And it wouldn't surprise me if, like, the Lions came out of nowhere and gave a higher pick than anyone would expect to get a Sorsby in there to be the heir apparent to Jared Goff. I mean, right now they have Teddy Bridgewater backing up Goff on a 1 year low end backup deal, so. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings jumped in there, given their scenario with Kyler on a 1 year deal. It wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers, with Aaron Rodgers.
That's a perfect spot for this kid.
Certainty about them.
Didn't they? They just drafted a quarterback, didn't they?
No, smart.
Yeah, but like with the Cardinals, here's the dilemma there is that, drafting Carson Beck. I think Beck has been fantastic. He's come in. I think he's won the trust of the coaches. His work ethic's been great. His interviews, he is absolutely crushing. Any question about his lack of maturity, in my opinion, has now been written off, because he has handled his scenario here with class and outstanding perspective. I mean, when asked about it, do you think you have a chance to start? He goes, I want to win games. I want the Cardinals to do whatever they need to do to win, and I want to do my part. And if they turn to me, I want to be super ready. He's handled all that brilliantly and with great maturity, and he's got the age behind him now. Um, and it'll be interesting to see in the preseason games what he can accomplish. What it looks like with him playing Mike LaFleur's offense, right? But a lot of the draft pundits had felt like Brendan Sorsby brings more to the table talent-wise than Carson Beck. And maybe, Carson Beck suffered the arm injury. Maybe the Cardinals view it differently now, is that, we're getting more out of Beck than we even imagined. We're really excited with this pick. Maybe right now for Mike LaFleur, we drafted Beck. We're going to roll with him. And I think it's a great scenario for the Cardinals to do it like we've been saying, is see if Jacoby Brissett can can keep feeding this number one wide receiver tight end tandem the way he did last year, only this time with a much improved running game, and then have hopefully a entirely different defensive philosophy and approach, a far more aggressive one. And let's just see how that, because LaFleur gushes about quarterback experience. Jacoby brings that, and LaFleur's only success in the NFL, wherever he's been, has been with veterans. So I just want to see what that looks like. I think it behooves the Cardinals players who want Jacoby and the coaches to just see what can happen there, just as a look-see. Because if Jacoby could be Mike LaFleur's version of Stafford in our offense, which is last year, if we said at this time, people would laugh. This year, you can't laugh of it because the two of them were the most prolific passers in the NFL the last 12 weeks, and one of them won an MVP, and was winning. And I think the whole 1-12 with Jacoby argument is just egregious. If you want to make 1-12 an argument, then Josh Sweat was 1-12 in the last 12 games, wasn't he? I mean, Trey McBride was 1-12 in the last 12 games. So was Michael Wilson. So was Paris Johnson Jr. So was Calais Campbell. So was Budda Baker. So was Jalen Thompson. I mean, and everybody had a role in that, one way or the other, positive or negative. But, with Brissett, I don't think any player on the Cardinals those last 12 games played harder, snap for snap, or tougher. Snap for snap. I think that dude left everything he had on that football field and did it for his boys, as Froholt has said. So I think the plan of that, and I think we've been thinking this all along, of seeing what Jacoby can do, and then at the right time, getting Beck in, to then evaluate Beck, if and when that time comes, and if the Cardinals are in the playoffs and Jacoby's playing or in playoff hunt, and people say you're crazy, they're never gonna listen. The Jaguars last year. I mean, there are all these cases that if you win a couple games early and get some momentum, and suddenly you get some confidence in this league, and you never know week to week who's going to be available on the other teams. You might, dodge having to play some of the best quarterbacks because they're out. You never know, so, that's why you got to play the games to find out. But I think that kind of schedule of waiting till it's right to put him back and giving him a string of games to see and evaluate what they have in him. Is he a quarterback of the future, or do they then need to go into that draft? They've already done a ton of work on Dante Moore, obviously, and others, will be available. I mean, Arch, I mean, everyone's going to be scouting him. So I think that plan seems really good. Putting Sorsby into that equation now, I think, muddles the whole thing up and it creates a lot of confusion. Sam, what do you think? What do you think the Cardinals should do?
I think the Cardinals should pass. Cardinals organically, not intentionally, but organically are going to be looking at the top 3 quarterback picks next year. And as good as Sorsby is, he's unpolished. He has processing issues. Forget all the gambling. If you look at all the scouts and you look at all the analysts, and Kyle touched on it, he goes from either the 3rd pick to the 6th pick purely on talent, purely on his on-field play. So you got model citizen, franchise quarterback of the future, Arch Manning. You got Moore, you got Sayan. Those are 3 names that are ready to enter the NFL and start. And that's what the Cardinals need.
Yeah.
That's not who Carson Beck is. I don't care what he does. If you put him in the list and you compare him to the 27 QBs, and you can start calling me, instead of Saguaro Sam or Sin 61, you can call me Broken Record Sam. Carson Beck does not have the talent and he does not have the upside that these other players have. So the Cardinals, and again, Broken Record Sam, the most important thing, the most important decisions the Cardinals have over the next 10 seasons is next year's draft and getting that quarterback. And you've got 3 kids who fill that need. And Sorsby, even without the gambling issues, isn't one of them. So there's no reason to take a swing and complicate an already complicated. I don't want to use the word dysfunctional because there may be a plan, but you got a great veteran who played his ass off last year, and they can't get him signed. All they did was alienate him. That's an organization that should not bring in a kid who's got serious mental health issues that have not yet been addressed. So I'm a hard pass on Sorsby. I think he's going to have a really good NFL career if he goes to the right spot, and I like him in Pittsburgh. I also like him with the Jets.
Oh yeah.
So and the Jets may take a swing. You know, they've got a lot of they got a lot of draft picks next year, and they've got Geno. They don't really have anyone as a solid backup. And New York City is, listen, the reporters are going to be really tough on him. It's a tough market, but man, he wins a few games for the Jets. He's a hero there, and that's a sophisticated market, and they'll get over the gambling issue. I don't think that pretends well for the Cardinals. So to answer your question, I'm a hard pass on this kid.
You know, I applaud you for your consistency, Sam, because you know, and that you're a broken record, because from day one, you have said repeatedly, and this is weeks now. Anyone who's been here knows. You've said from week 1, the Cardinals have to get the quarterback position right, and it has to come next year. You've said it all along. So
well, and I'll remind, maybe I shouldn't, but I'll remind everyone on my greatest wish for the Cardinal organization is that they have a shot at Arch Manning, and the Mannings come in here, push Mike Bidwell aside, make an investment in this franchise, find somebody to be the president of football operations, and get this organization on track long term. So I still have that in the back of my mind.
Oh man, you're giving me goosebumps.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad. I mean, think about it a year from now if that's what we're talking about. How great would that be?
Whoa! I mean, hold out a candle for that. That would be stunning.
Yeah.
And so timely, So, but I mean, kudos to you because you've had this vision, and we both agreed we didn't think drafting a quarterback, and so did Kyle, that this year what didn't make a lot of sense. And but now that they have, I mean, we got some value in Carson Beck as a at the very least a good backup. So that helps down the road, and we'll see what he can do with first team reps this year at some point. See what we can evaluate there. But you've had your eye on the stars. You've had that plan, and I think it's awesome. That's why when I was prepping for today, I said I already know what Sam's going to say, and I'm glad I already know because it's helped me with my thoughts about this, which I'll explain after we hear from Kyle. But Kyle, Little Rock, Gardner, what do you do with Sorsby?
Yeah, same kind of idea as Sam. You want to pass on Sorsby because the goal is to get the quarterback in the 2027 class, whether that's Arch, whether that's Dante Moore. I actually think, and I don't know, a lot of people haven't said this, but I actually think by the time the draft comes around, Julian Sayin might be the number one quarterback in the draft class.
Absolutely.
But as long as you get one of those three, I know there's others like, was it Mensa, the guy who transferred to Miami?
Daniel Mensa.
Yeah, Darian Mensa. I know there's others too, but the big 3 or 4 people are pointing to in next year's draft class are the ones that we just mentioned. You want to get one of those quarterbacks, but even if they win enough games where they're not in a position to get one of those quarterbacks because they're ahead of schedule, then there's other options out there. Mac Jones is going to be a free agent.
Right.
I know you're a big Davis Mills fan, Walter. Davis Mills is going to be a free agent. Tua is going to be a free agent. The Bucks are kind of playing with their food with the Baker Mayfield thing, and I think they'd probably franchise tag him anyways. But theoretically, Baker Mayfield could be on the open market. Like there are options out there beyond Sorsby. Sorsby is officially become a project, not just because of the skipping a year of college football, but also because of the gambling disorder and because of the mental health issues. He's become now more of a project. And I think team like Detroit with an established culture, like you mentioned, the team like Buffalo with an established culture.
Sure.
I know Kansas City just took Nussmeier, but a team like Kansas City, who is potentially giving him the space to become a backup. San Francisco, like one of those places that already has the infrastructure built in, makes sense.
Yes.
And the other part that, we touched on it a little bit, but the other part is that by drafting Sorsby, you immediately undermine the decision to draft Carson Beck, which itself was immediately undermining the decision to bring back Jacoby Brissett and sign Gardner Minshew. So
well said.
Perfectly said, dude.
Yeah, you've immediately undermined Carson. And look, I lean closer to Sam in the sense that I don't think Carson Beck is going to be a successful NFL quarterback. He's going to be a 15-year starter in the league. I don't think he's that kind of quarterback. But I've seen worse prospects than Carson Beck have successful NFL careers, which means it's about development. It is about talent development, which is I was listening to Matt Hasselbeck the other day talked about like half the league, they just have their young quarterbacks just sit on the sidelines and do nothing. And then they go in and play scout team and they just don't even invest in the development of the players.
Perfectly said.
And it's honestly, it's really, he said half the league. I think it's probably like 75% of the league just straight up
Right.
doesn't know how to develop quarterbacks. And the new thing is just let one of these other teams develop your Sam Darnold or your Mac Jones or your, one of those guys, and then we'll just sign them. That's been the new thing. We don't even care about developing. We'll just let someone who knows how to do it develop our quarterback.
Right.
And again, LaFleur coming from the Rams system, the goal should be to develop Carson Beck and give Carson Beck as many tools as he can to succeed. We know he has a short window because if they're in a position to draft a quarterback next year, they absolutely will do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But potentially it could end up being like the Saints, where the Saints aren't in a position to draft a quarterback and they're investing in Tyler Shuck. They're giving Tyler Shuck opportunity. Yeah. Is Shuck going to be a great quarterback? I don't know, but they're giving him the runway and doing all the right things in the meantime to try and give him the opportunity to succeed. And I think Shuck is no better than Carson Beck. So if the Saints are doing it with Shuck, the Cardinals certainly can do it with Carson Beck. And I don't think they need to go get Brendan Sorsby, because I think the talent gap between Sorsby, from what I understand, the talent gap between Sorsby and Carson Beck is not super tremendous, right? People think Sorsby's better, but it's not like Sorsby just has these incredible once in a lifetime gifts that, Carson Beck doesn't possess. So the goal of the season at this point, as much as it sucks for Jacoby Brissett, once you've made the call to draft Carson Beck, you got to give Carson Beck at least some runway to try and develop. Otherwise, you just wasting a 3rd round pick and a premium 3rd round pick on a quarterback that you don't even care about.
Right. Unless you are knocking, if you're in the hunt, you got to go with what's getting you there. So, and that's still always my hope, no matter what the season. Like, I think back to Gannon's first year, how winnable those first 5 games were. And so doing all the desperate things of rushing in Dobbs and whatever, the way they mishandled all that and automatically assumed they were just going to lose really stuck in my craw, because that Washington game, the first game, we had every opportunity to win that game. I mean, and unfortunately Dobbs had the fumble in the second half that prevented it. And those games, and they beat Dallas convincingly. And, year to year, you just never know. And that's why you come and play hard and try to win hard every game. All this tanking and conceding, and Phoenix already has Cardinals has us already at 0-4. Can't stand that shit. So, yes, we, as soon as it becomes clear that we're not a playoff contender, I give all the games to Beck to see what he could do. But now they're starting up the chant of let's start Beck from the start, which I think would be a colossal mistake. Because the way the perfect example, just you said with Tyler Shuck. I mean, the way they timed his entry, is key. I mean, this is what's working. They did it with Drake May. They waited appropriately and then got him in there at the right time. So, so yeah. But there are 3 quarterbacks that I like too, on top of the ones you both said. Tanner McKee. I think he's be fantastic in Michael Floor's system. I think he'll be a free agent. So I've been trying to trade for him for years now, couple of years anyway. So, and I really like in college too is C.J. Carr. How about getting Jeremiah his own quarterback? I think he's going to be a really fascinating prospect, especially if he plays big this year. And Lenora Sellers, I love that kid. He is tough, and played his ass off behind that makeshift line where he's getting pounded. Remind me a lot of what Jacoby did for the Cardinals. To tell you the truth, sellers hung in there and got balls out to people and paid the price. And I think he's a guy to keep an eye on as well. So it just I felt about Sorsby the same way I felt about Reuben Bain. Only Bain's situation is, in my mind, worse. And because I love Bain, he was my favorite prospect in the draft, and then I heard those things, and I just was like, "Oh God!" I mean, not only that one incident happened, but that he got caught again driving recklessly. That's a mental illness too, in its own right, but and a deadly one. Um, so anyway, that just said to me, you can't give him the number 3 pick. And this with Sorsby tells me you can't bid high on him. You know what sticks in my craw too is he gets to keep the 5 million. And then of course Cincinnati's been suing him about the 1 million he owes them on their contract.
I don't think he gets to keep all 5 million. I think he gets to keep whatever's already been paid, but I think he has to give back whatever he was going to make or he doesn't get paid whatever he was going to get paid for the season.
Well, Gambo and Burns yesterday were saying he was getting the whole 5 million. So whatever their source was, regardless, I don't think he should deserve a penny. I mean, if you're not going to play, you're getting paid to play there. And it's by his own actions that he's not able to play. But anyway, the thing that worries about me with a gambler is give him all sorts of money and what he would do with it. Yeah. That's why I don't think in all this it's going to be fair if he gets rewarded with a first-round pick or even, in a way, a second-round pick. But I think it's likely to happen because of his talent and because QB-needy teams will go to those measures. Because it's as simple as, if you're the Lions, you're not going to be in a position to draft any of those top quarterbacks next year. And Jared Goff is getting older, and you want a guy that you want to groom for the future. I mean, it's teams like that makes you wonder, and they have the strength of the organization and the fan base to make this happen and do it in style, while they already have like Alex Smith was in KC. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback and get him the playoffs. And then they timed the whole Mahomes thing right. So it could happen either way. But yeah, there's just too many risks. The other thing is what Sam brought up about leadership. I just don't have a handle on this kid as a leader. I know people at Cincinnati were really disappointed he didn't play in the bowl game. But at the time he was getting mega $1 million offers, in the portal or ahead of the portal. So, he's going to protect himself for that money. And, in that sense, I kind of get it. Although I watched Lamar Jackson elect to play in not a playoff scenario either, in a just regular old bowl game, and ball his ever-living ass off against Mississippi State in one of the most gutsy college quarterback performances I have ever seen. He left it all on that field. And I said to myself that day, I want that guy. And I was pitching for him that whole draft. I was like, when a guy shows you that when he doesn't have to, that's why I feel so strongly about Jacoby. He didn't have to do that. The rest of the team quit. But what really gets me about Jacoby is that he brought them all with him. Everyone, he was bought in. There was no quit in that offense. They played their butts off. And even, in games that they were getting, against some of the top defenses where they were getting off to just slower starts and they were frustrated, there was no quit. They just kept going and going and going. And I never saw defenses quit either. I think defenses didn't want the Cardinals to get shit. And I think they wanted to stack their sack totals and interceptions and turnovers. And I think that, Cardinals had answers for that frustrated a lot of people. I will never forget Kyle Shanahan being so pissed off. He went for 2 points up 40-something. 40-22. The Cardinals cut it to, 36-22. And he was like, I'm taking my offense. First team offense, plowed it downfield, rushed it in with McCaffrey, and then went for 2. What kind of statement was that? Like, if you guys are going to keep trying, we're going to keep piling. I think there's no question he was frustrated out of his mind to watch Jacoby set an NFL record in that game. And that's what encourages me. So, I think we're all in agreement on Sorsby. I think it's too much of a risk. I think you guys do too. But I also am relying, I have weeks and weeks of Broken Record Sam in our ears telling us this is the route to go. And I've jumped on board. And I really believe that what he's been saying all along is the formula. So, yeah. Now, let's finish with this. If we could queue up, I wanted to take you through Jacoby's first start against the Colts. I've done a lot of prep work on this, and I want to show you why this game set up the success that Jacoby had for the entire season. And in a season of adjustments too, because in-game stuff. We can just go to the offensive parts of this game. The defensive parts, the highlight is 10 wide open receivers. I was counting them for the Colts. And you watch the Colts defend our guys. It's like night and day. Their guys are wide open. Our guys are covered, but Jacoby's throwing dimes. So we'll get a look at, this is after 5 weeks, and this is Jacoby's first start. And let's just remember that going into this game, the buzz on X was Cardinals had worst passing offense in the league. And Drew Petzing's the worst offensive coordinator for passing in the league. And Michael Wilson is a W wide receiver 3. All right.
Here we go.
Colts tried to set the tone with heavy pressure early, and Jacoby was getting hit. Now he uses his legs. I think that's an underrated part of his game. He floats a pocket very well. He learned it from Tom Brady. He climbs a pocket well. He steps into his throws. He throws frozen ropes. So we're down 7-0 towards the end of the first quarter. Hit it.
2 tight end set here.
Yep.
Oh, this was a handoff.
Yeah, this is like, Michael Carter playing huge in this game. Talk about elevating the people around you. Failed bubble screen. Missed block by Paris. 3rd and 17, gang. Look at him step up. Look at the tight coverage. Suddenly, 3rd and long was a possibility. And it keeps this drive alive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rushed.
Yep. Good protection this time. And now we're actually using a pocket.
I was going to say the number of times that Kyler would have just ran out right there. Bot time, which steps up, hit it.
Look at that dime. And then, McBride in tight coverage. This is sweet. Good block by gains there. This was the best O-line that Jacoby had, and they got pressured big time. Okay.
Here's the interception. Just for the heck of it, there's the interception.
This is a great play by Mac Wilson. Kind of came right to him. He was in no man's land, but got a good catch on the ball. Now we have the ball, tie game. Now here comes a mistake. But it's not Jacoby's fault. And I think it's huge to talk about this. He's going to go for the slant and look at Zay Jones.
Ran the wrong one. Yep.
All right. So now this really hurt at the time. You're just like, oh, frick. And people were, stop, please. People were blaming Jacoby for this. But now here's the key, the adjustment. Because later you're going to see Marv make a great conversion, but get concussed. And who comes in for Marv but Zay Jones? And who ends up the highest leading receiver in this game? Zay Jones. And who makes the adjustments? Jacoby Brissett. You'll see it all unfold. Okay? You got trips to the left. Now, the Colts went down and scored after that interception, so that hurt. Oh, we got 3rd and 4, key conversion. Look at him hang in there. And this, unfortunately, was the concussion. But great catch by Marv under pressure. Look at how they're sticky coverage on our guys. Then Bam Knight with a good run. Love Bam. Loving the Bam. Great back shoulder. Should have been caught. But again, sticky coverage. And we got called on holding anyway. So we made it moot. But Zay Jones is going to come back in this game. Like right here. See, now there's the adjustment. Same play, different result because Zay Jones doesn't stop now. Now you got Carter in motion. You got twins to both sides. Does it again.
Sorry, that was the same play. Sorry.
Oh, it was? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, he will do it again, I think, later. Now it's 3rd and 8. He gets sacked, unfortunately. Had no time there. And no means to escape because it came so fast at him. So Ryland with a clutch kick. It's 14-10. Wide open guy. Cardinals don't. Wide open guy. Just keep going through it. We just can see it.
Hold on. Here we go.
You go from one team playing sticky coverage on every receiver to one team playing no coverage. It's just so, egregious. A disparity. I mean, like caution and cushion. Let him have it. Let him have it. Let him have it. Okay, now we get the ball back. Look at Canada go. Look at him go.
3rd and 10, keep the drive alive.
3rd and 10. Great call by Petzing. If it gets stuffed, everyone says he's a bum. Way to find the open man to Carter. By the way, do you know who's number 1 in the NFL at drop pass percentage? Jacoby Brissett. At only 2.4 drops percent. Was number 1 in the NFL. And look at how many times he threw into, cover. All right, 1st and 10. Play action. Open man. Take what he gives you. Yep. Bam Knight running hard.
It was a great run.
See, everyone's playing hard. Everyone.
Another
They're on a
play
mission.
fake.
All right. We get an open man, and it's Trey.
5 wide or 5 out wide. I think Trey's
Yeah.
out there, but 5 out
Spread,
wide.
trips left, twins right. There it is. Put it on him. Michael Wilson getting involved. Look at that pass. I thought that was a TD where he caught it. They didn't call it, but I thought he had it over the plane. Play action. McBride. Guess what touchdown that was? His 7th in his career. After all this time. But this is a key development with McBride. And his 2nd on the season. He only had 1 in the first 5 games. So
All right, jumping ahead to now 17-17, still third quarter.
McBride in the end zone this is when it really started to happen. Turning a red zone ghost into a red zone juggernaut. We'll take it.
You know, if the Cardinals weren't impressed by Jacoby's performance here, you know who was?
Who's that?
Colts organization.
Yeah.
Because they know Jacoby pretty well.
Yes.
And he did a pretty good job filling in when Andrew Luck got hurt.
He sure did.
And then retired.
And that's right. And then I'll just surmise that if Jacoby's looking for work in a couple weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts came calling. Daniel
Look at
Jones,
that time.
Big if. Daniel Jones is a big if.
Look at that dime thrown in rhythm.
We'll go back. Watch it again.
Yeah. Again, Zay Jones. Who? Zay Jones who?
No.
He hadn't done squat.
Nope.
And now he's, leading receiver in this game here. And we're in a 17-17 game in Indy. And they're 4-1.
Rolling.
And on a roll. Lay it on him. Zay Jones again. Career day for a Cardinal. For his time with the Cardinals. Bingo. Dortch. TD. Getting Dortch involved.
Yeah.
Look at where the pass was made. Suddenly passes over the middle. Like easy peasy. Look at Dortch. God, I'm going to miss him.
Yep.
One of the most underutilized Cardinals ever.
No question. Although I think Duvernay is going to be really good running.
Oh, I hope so. We need that.
Yeah.
He hasn't done much of it in his career, however.
No.
He's been
I
relegated.
don't know how much he's gonna play. He's mostly been a special teams guy.
He's gonna be a returner.
Right.
Yeah.
But we need a slot.
Yeah.
That's something Monty ignores. Slots and slot corners.
Well, Bourne's supposed to be our slot. Let's see how happy he is with that assignment.
Oh, that's made to fail.
Yep.
Look at Bam go. I mean, we have running backs 3 and 4 in this game, and they're playing great.
Another play action.
Oh, great play by Jacoby. Way to keep the play alive. Higgy Bear came to play with Jacoby big time. And he did with Kyler, too. Higgy Bear was coming on. That was a miscommunication. They're going to go for the kick here. And this is clutch. 9:36 left in the fourth quarter. The Cardinals have the lead in Indianapolis. Let's watch how they get the lead back. Pierce, loose coverage. Max Melton, unfortunately. In zone, though. Probably
Pierce is good.
the way he was taught. Way to string that play out. Good for boot, both safeties. Oh, and a face mask. Oh, it was on Collins, I think. The more I watched Collins at times last year, he was not bringing it. He was not effective. Some really poor efforts and techniques. Sorry to say.
That's across the entire squad and defense.
Yeah.
That's why we were talking about all those edges in the draft.
Watch this play.
Boom. Yeah, didn't hold the edge there at all.
But now we want to see Jacoby on this last drive, and they're not going to show the key play, but let's show how he gets down. So now we got to answer in a 2-minute drill.
Was McBride?
Bingo. 1st and 10.
Beautiful.
Another play action. Open man. What I love about Jacoby is and look at the play Carter makes to escape that. Carter's a player.
No question.
He's got great feet.
Where did he end up again?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know someone picked him up.
Yeah, they did. I'll be rooting for him. Look at this escape. I mean, I think Jacoby's mobility is underrated.
Carter,
by the way, is at Tennessee.
Oh,
good spot for him.
Yes.
Look at that run by Carter. 2nd and 1. Look at that time. Back shoulder fade. Oh, my goodness. Can we run that back? Let's run that back. This is clutch. Anyone who said Jacoby wasn't clutch down the stretch in games is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is total clutch. Look at him. He's got McBride open, but he's smelling something deeper. He knows he has one-on-one with Wilson. This is the beginning of the renaissance of Michael Wilson. This is where it's beginning. Heretofore largely ignored. Only had 52 yards in 5 games. Now, this is 3rd and 7. Under total duress, I think he did as well as he could. Handle it as well as he could, given those circumstances. So this is all right. So now they don't play it. If you go back to the email I sent you, where this is, I have a video of the last play.
I think we have.
I mean, the last play is a blatant hold on Trey McBride in the end zone. Yeah,
we've got it right here.
And unfortunately, he misses Wilson. Notice the trips underneath here. That's a trip stack. That's really hard to defend, and they're trying to match up with it here. So the guy who's on McBride is going to stick with him, and they're going to play man here. But notice how Wilson on the inside is going to win, and Jacoby already thinks he's got McBride, so he's not even thinking about Wilson. But in retrospect, they're going to see this tape and say, we'll get it next time. Because watch. All right, there's going to be another angle coming up. Look at Wilson right now, 14. Yep. And the safety even drifts a little farther, and his man is chasing him away. He beats him off the line. Huge. Now look at the hands on McBride there. All right, keep it rolling. Look at there, right there. Right there, stop. Both hands on him. It's so egregious. And the ref is right there. Frickin' A. Home cooking. The ref should be able to see that. He can see the hook. Can see the hook right there. What the frick? That's just... So don't tell me Jacoby can't win, because he's got the winning TD going right there. And, you know, and he had it all the way. Now, here's the adjustment I think they made in other games. And that's the thing why I said this game was a springboard. It was a springboard to McBride in the end zone. Because from this point on, he catches 10 touchdowns. Which, you know, he had, what did he have? 5 in 3 years or something? Or, yeah, 5 in 3 years coming into that season, right? So he catches 12 on the season. Fantastic. It's just what we needed. So this was kind of like the awakening moment of, hey, you know, we're going to, you know, Trey, now we got you, you know, we're going to hook you up and turn you into an end zone Godzilla, which we all know you can do. Michael, you're key in all this. Once Jacoby gets you settled in, we're heading your way, like we did on that conversion on over the middle, and then on that fade up the sideline on 50-50 ball. That was where the seeds were planted for what Michael Wilson would accomplish, which was from that point on just unbelievable. In the first couple of games, he wasn't targeted as much, but then when Zay Jones was injured, Marv was out with the concussion. Suddenly, you know, Jacoby got with Michael Wilson, and he told Wilson, I'm sending you tapes of the guys you're playing against, and here's how we're going to attack them. And man, that formula was not only so professional, it was so effective, because week after week we saw Wilson's confidence and Jacoby's confidence in him keep emerging and emerging. But we saw the adjustments being made on what plays were going wrong. And we also saw an increased role in running backs in the passing game that we hadn't seen as much earlier. We saw some really good things, and we saw a lot of great throws. And for a team that supposedly, according to fans on X, had the worst passing game in the NFL, fired Drew Petzing because he's the out worst passing coordinator in the NFL. Well, how's this for a first game coming out of the gates, having started a game yet for the Cardinals? 320 yards. We talked about this last week. 320 yards in his first game, and what should have been, in my opinion, a win, unless the defense would have given it up at the end, which could have happened easily. But at least I think they could have taken the lead right there. It should have been 1st and goal at the 1 yard line. That's what it should have been. And I don't think I'm making an excuse, because it's right there on tape. Fellas, your reactions. Sam?
Well, so let's bottom line it. Played like this all season, had great stats. Last year, at the beginning of the year, they didn't make a lot of moves on offense because they wanted continuity. Right? And we heard the continuity word. So they spent most of their draft capital on the defense. So here you have continuity with a tight end, with an emerging wide receiver, with a wide receiver who needs to emerge, and Marvin Harrison Jr. And here you have Jeremiah Love. So what do? You alienate the guy who could give you some great continuity with a new coach, new first-time coach.
Right.
So I'll just say it. I don't think Jacoby Brissett wants to be on this team.
Oh, no.
Despite his connection.
He does, though.
I don't see it. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't want to play. If a team questions your value, despite your production, leadership, command, improvement of the offense, eventually the message gets through. He's certainly not going to play for $1.5 million. No quarterback will.
No, exactly.
So and the team knows this. Now, is Jacoby being reasonable on his increase? We don't know. Right. And for the organization to not be reasonable in giving him a reasonable increase, we don't know. But
we do
here
know.
Here you have again, since 1988, more dysfunction from this organization.
Right.
And it's dysfunction at the quarterback situation. And this current front office has no clue what the hell they're doing with their quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's why they need to wait. And that's why 27, it'll be sitting there. The quarterback of the future will just be sitting there waiting for him. And not even they will be able to screw this up.
Well,
so Jacoby was disrespected completely.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, we touched on it earlier, Kendrick Bourne is not going to be happy in the slot. I wouldn't be surprised if Kendrick Bourne took tons of plays away from Michael Wilson. So Michael Wilson will be disrespected before his contract is signed. I hope that doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
Yep.
That's Cardinals 101. So yeah, I'm disgusted by, and we said it weeks on weeks on weeks, and I'm beginning to wonder. I don't think there's a connection between the Cardinals and Jacoby. We're going to know soon enough.
Yeah.
If he's not re-signed, or they still have this issue hanging over them in camp, I think the only thing Cardinals want to do with Jacoby is wait till somebody gets hurt in the league and they can trade him for a fifth or a sixth or maybe even better. But they've got a really good quarterback. They've got a perfect guy to bridge them this season and next season. If the kid they drafted is not ready, or they want to give him a little time like Vegas is doing with, I think, a ready-to-go kid that they drafted, the Indiana quarterback. But you just don't know. And you don't know because it's chaos, it's dysfunction, it's lack of respect, and it's just a continuation of what we've endured for way too long. And I would not be surprised if Jacoby Brissett is looking down and he's his own agent.
Yeah,
he's done pretty well. He's sitting on close to $70 million in earnings over his career. Yeah. He's been around the block. He's been around the block more than Monty. He's a pretty savvy negotiator. He's been in the right place at the right time. And I think bottom line is Jacoby thinks he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. We'll see.
Yeah, I was just saying that, his affinity for his receivers.
He has all that. This is the perfect
blockers. He loves his offensive line.
He absolutely does. And they love him. He wants to. He knows he can flourish here. He's excited about Jeremiah Love.
Right.
He's excited about the continuity. He's excited about the chemistry and the relationship. That who's a bigger leader on this team, or who's the leader on offense besides Jacoby Brissett? It's Jacoby Brissett. That's undeniable.
Right.
So, but he's not going to be he's not going to be humiliated. He's not going to be kicked to the curb. He's not going to play his ass off so Carson Beck can step in and do whatever they expect him to do. So And you know what else he knows? He's been in this organization long enough to know that he's working for idiots. Who likes that?
And his number one fan is gone, and coach Drew Petzing. So, but here's what gives me hope is that the dude is a paragon of resilience.
No question.
And other quarterbacks might get broken emotionally about this. I don't think Jacoby would. I think the minute they sign him and he comes back, it'll be all systems go. And I don't think he's going to be like, oh, fucking Cardinals, I don't think that.
1,000%. 1,000%. You have a true
I'm not worried about his fragile ego like we've been doing for years.
No.
So, yeah. But
he'll be all in. He'll play his ass off.
He will.
That's what he's always done everywhere he's been. That's the one thing the Cardinals can rely on. And that's the one thing the Cardinals don't appreciate.
Right. And I must gotta add that Jacoby was showing signs with Marvin of a chemistry that we hadn't seen. And unfortunately, Marvin had that concussion, and then he had the appendicitis, and then he had the heel injury. It just was a series of injuries for Marvin, and he missed 5 games. But there was, that first half of the Cowboys game, Marvin was dominant. So we've already seen how Jacoby can be dominant with Marvin and a half. And we've seen how Jacoby had turned Zay Jones into a leading receiver for a game. And in his 2 games, Zay Jones had 140 yards and something like that before he got hurt, unfortunately. And Jacoby picked his spots with Dortch and the running backs and with Higgy. I mean, look at how many people he distributed the ball to in that game. He got everybody involved and elevated them. He elevated the whole crew, and there was a level of confidence there that we hadn't seen, and a spirit and a toughness.
And who should appreciate that more than anyone in that organization?
Right.
The guy who's drafted these young guys who haven't performed.
It's unbelievable.
Here you have a guy you brought in,
right,
who's elevated him, who said, hey, Monty, you drafted the right guys. You drafted talented guys. And so what does Monty do?
I know.
Alienates him.
It's just the total double cross organization. The one decision at quarterback Monty made that was a success, he's now screwing up.
Yep.
Makes no freaking sense. Thank you, my man. And Little Rock, what's your take?
You guys kind of hit on most of it. There was one thing I saw last week that didn't come up that you just reminded me of too, which is if you look at the passer rating numbers from when Jacoby took over until the end of the season, he ended up 14th in the league at a 94.2, which the average is roughly around like 92 for the passer ratings. But if you look at the group, he was kind of in the same category as you got Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, Super Bowl winning quarterback Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson. So at the very least, Caleb Williams is down here. So, you just have a group of, it's not like he was 20, he was putting up these big passing numbers, but he was 26th or anything like that. It's like he was an above average quarterback for 12 weeks. And obviously the passing stats bear it out, and they were throwing a lot, obviously, but the passing stats bear it out. And even the advanced numbers say like he was an above average quarterback last year, which, who knows, maybe Carson Beck will be that too, but it would have made more sense given their financial restraints of the Kyler Murray buyout, that it would have just made sense to just give Jacoby another year and see how it's going to go. But we talked about it last week. It's not going to happen. They could go. We've seen situations where teams win 3 games and they still switch the quarterback. It is an organizational decision to make that quarterback switch, and the organization is going to decide how to proceed with Brissett or Minshew or Beck or Sorsby, whatever they do, it's gonna be a Monty Ossenfort decision, and probably too, as much as you hate to say it, it's probably gonna be a Michael Bidwill decision as to when they make that quarterback flip.
Yep. So, and what we saw on tape in that Colts game is none of that was easy. None of that was just given away. The Colts were playing sticky man. Lou Anarumo, it was a revenge game for him. Who got jilted by the Cardinals. And their pass rush was fierce. And that's the thing, to have a high passer rating, given the pressure he was under and the sticky coverages he went against, makes it, I think, even more significant. And notice he was right next to Justin Herbert. The two of them faced the highest pass rush pressure in the NFL. So for them to be right there is a testament to how they hung in there and got things done under duress. And it's, I think, commendable. And it's just so ironic that after all these, fumbling of the quarterback decisions, you get something right. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted. I don't know why people aren't awed by this, but Jacoby played 12 games, and yet he delivered on the NFL's #1 wide receiver tight end production numbers. 2,345 yards combined and 18 touchdowns. No team had a tandem with more than that. Only the Rams had tied for touchdowns with 18, with Puka and Parkinson. I mean, and you don't want to bring this back? I mean, when have we ever been #1 as a tandem? 18 touchdowns between, 200 and, 2,245 yards combined. And Michael Wilson had 52 after 5 weeks. This is phenomenal. I mean, I've never seen something like this. I mean, we do something we've never seen before. And then the cruelty towards this guy is just unbelievable. The day after, on the very day that Michael Fleur called off practice, the third day, Jacoby said, "Okay, I got the day off." He goes to Pebble Beach. I think for any golfer, that's got to be a bucket list, and plays golf at Pebble Beach. And these guys are ranking on him and making a big deal out of it. There's our, charade of a quarterback, embarrassment of a quarterback. What's he doing? Already playing golf. I mean, it's just so petty and and personal for these guys. It's disgusting. And the irony of being super fans for Mr. Skittish, who you were never really sure was going to leave it all on the field and rarely did, to a guy who hung in there and was a profile in courage in ways we have not seen since Carson Palmer. But you rank on the guy with courage, and you keep lifting up. Kyler's going to be an MVP this year in Minnesota. Just wrote recently that now that the Cardinals got rid of Kyler, they're like in the quarterback soup era of not, having anyone to lean on. I mean, how did we ever lean on Kyler for anything, especially late in seasons? In all of his years, he didn't finish one season strong. Which is my argument back when I didn't think they ought to pay him. Not after 3 years, not after failing 3 years in a row late. And those guys blamed it on Kingsbury that he could never win late. And then Kingsbury won 14 games, 8 in a row in Washington. Oh, shit. How's that happen? So anyway, I could go on and on and on. I'm just so sick and tired of the disrespect. And I just want a decent chance for this guy to pick up where he left off. The players want it. They're confident in him. I think with an improvement, and let's just remember that he did this without a running game and with a defense that was towards the end of the year giving up 40 points a game practically. So, a lot was stacked against, and they never quit. They were all in all the time and playing as hard as they could. That's leadership. When you can do that, when there's nothing to play for but pride, that is really getting shit done. So I love the guy. Sorsby, I was really high on in the draft process because I knew the Cardinals had done their homework on him, but it's just too much. And I think that, what Sam's been saying and Kyle has been saying has stuck with me and in thinking that, no, this is what we need to do. We need to get Jacoby, give him his chance, see how that looks, especially with a coach whose only success in the NFL has been with veteran quarterbacks so far. I mean, I like Jacoby in this offense, and I like it with a coach. I think he can handle the nuances of this complex offense. So, yeah. And I think that, having back now changes wanting to draft Sorsby in a supplemental way. And, we got to check him out if and when the time is appropriate, and then see where we are for next year with all those enticing quarterback options ahead of us. So the plan has been laid out here at Red Rain. Broken Record Sam's going to bring it to you until next year. We ought to make a tape and just, Kyle, hit it. So, but anyway,
just Sam talking about the quarterback. It's like on a soundboard.
It's a DRS tape. Broken Record Sam, hit it. I'll say it again. So anyway, final parting shots here. Broken Record Sam.
Looking forward to camp. I think we'll have a pretty good idea of where the quarterback focus will be. I'm really looking forward to seeing Jeremiah Love. Looking forward to seeing how the Cardinals continue to give Mike Wilson and Marvin Harrison an opportunity to grow and develop, keep them Cardinals for a long time. And then my fervent hope is seeing some improvement from this defense across the board.
Yes.
Brought in a lot of new faces, given some that we've got a lot of competition in this camp for the first time in a long time. So I'm really interested in seeing how LaFleur really pushes competition and brings the cream to the crop.
Right.
And I think this team knows in the back of their mind they're going to have a very difficult time with a very difficult schedule. And I'm interested in seeing how that translates on the field.
Right.
There's a lot to prove this year. There's a lot to clean up, and it's going to be a tough schedule to do that. And we're going to have to see. And I'm really looking mostly at this young coach, that whether he was the bottom of the barrel or he went to work for the bottom of the barrel, he's got a hell of a job in front of him.
Does.
Just keeping these kids together, keeping these kids connected, and keeping them focused over what I unfortunately have to predict is going to be a very, very difficult, discouraging season. I'm hopeful, but it's going to be a tough season.
Well, we open up in San Diego. We've got a lucky charm here in the on the show in in our San Diego resident native son, Little Rock, the Little Rock from San Diego. So thank you, Sam. Little Rock.
All right. I'm glad that it all worked out here because I wanted to do this at the end of the show and show old Walter over here that Mr. Little Rock has a second book that
Get
is
out!
going to be debuting today.
Oh,
Available
fantastic.
everywhere.
No wonder the hat. Oh,
So now we
great.
got 2 Kyle books.
Yes.
That are now out in the world, and both Since 61 and Walter are going to have these copies coming in the mail in just a few days.
All
So,
righty.
To it.
Yes. This is
Like
a Sacramento
the
Kings
baby.
book. So it's based on the lived experience I've had the last few years with them turning it around and then going back to crap again, kind of like the Cardinals. But for a minute, they had turned it around. So anyways, this book number 2 comes out today, and there's a bunch of copies in a box that's sitting next to me, and
Great.
2 of them are headed to Massachusetts and Arizona for you guys.
Thank you.
So people can purchase that on Amazon, right?
They can, yes. Just look up Light the Beam book. There's a link tree if people want to find it too. It's in the I'll put it in the description of this episode too if people do want it. But yes, there's available Amazon, Barnes and Noble, eventually Google Play. It takes a little longer to get verified on Google, but for now you can buy it Amazon, Barnes and Noble, ebook, physical book. You can just ask me for a copy. I'll probably send it to you. I got like 100 in a box over here. So anyone who wants one can have one. They're available now everywhere. Well, not everywhere, just Amazon and Google, or Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but they're available.
Awesome. Congratulations, pal. I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
And you're making your family so proud too. This is, if people understand what goes into writing a book, all the, not only the writing of it, but the editing and the processing and the formatting and all that, it's exhausting. And, but man, oh man, you got 2 books in. How old are you now?
24, turn 25 next week.
What the? Oh my God.
Yeah. 25th birthday is next week. Funny enough, you mentioned San Diego. I'll be in San Diego next week.
Yeah, and then I realized the game is actually in LA.
Yeah.
But it is San Diego. It's the old San Diego Chargers. So it's the Chargers. You know what? I'm excited for that game. I think it could go either way. I really do.
For sure.
Who keeps their quarterback cleaner in that game, because both quarterbacks were under the most duress last year, as we discussed. But guys, great podcast. Thank you so much. Want to shout out to our listeners on Spotify. Our numbers are really good. You listen to us on Spotify. Thank you so much. I just saw the numbers. I was like, whoa. Thank you very much. So we're encouraged by that. And, we're going to try to wait a while to see if more news pops up till we have the next podcast, because it's this lull time of the year. But if anything pops up worthy of your attention and ours, you'll be hearing from us. We'll be posting our next, which would be Red Rain 218. So 217. And during that interim, Kyle's written 2 books. Swero Sam's shot a career high, career record 73, was it? In Scottsdale. So we're peaking. Kyle's keeping us young, and Sam's working out at the gym left and right. He's buffed. We're looking good at Red Rain here, and so are you. So till next time, may the red rain shower down on you into the red sea. Red Rain.